Right, welcome back. The next part of my little accessories adventure is to do with the indicators. Now, the bike comes as standard with these pointy ones, which are nice and bright and clear. I do like an indicator that is unmistakable in its brightness and unambiguousness of telling other road users where I want to go. But I'm not really a fan of pointy indicators, so I've lashed out on a couple of sets of these, which are Triumph's round bullet indicator options. These are the ones for the rear. There's your part number, and I have a similar pair for the front. They come nicely packaged, and they're very similar to the ones fitted to the Bonneville. They may even be the same as the ones fitted to the Bonneville, really, but they're a nice traditional round indicator to go on the back instead of those. So we get on with fitting those. They are also a 5mm Allen key. So we pop that in there and we'll have an investigate. I'll try hard not to drop this screw down the drain. That would make me cross. Oh, there we go, and there's the plug. So we will swap hands or swap mounts and see how we get on swapping these over. Right, couple of things to note. They are marked up right hand and left hand. I can't really see any difference. They look fairly symmetrical to me, but they are marked right hand and left hand, and the plugs are colour coded, black for the right and white for the left. The harness is not long enough to pull them both out at the same time, so you have to do one side and then the other. So anyway, that's them swapped over. We'll get them screwed on. Right, so here we are. Here the bullet ones all fitted up. I'm quite pleased with those. Yeah, I think that's a definite improvement. Well, it is for me anyway. So one thing I have discovered is that the hazard lights only work with the ignition on, which seems a little bizarre. Anyway, they're nice and bright. It's a very bright day today, as you can probably tell from the camera. So that's them. Can't get the angle right. They look a bit wonky in the film, but they're not in real life. The plate is on straight. So that's them. So I get onto the front ones now. Yeah, with the... Oh, well, they've stayed on now. That's bizarre. Turn them off. Turn them back. Ah, well, maybe that is some kind of clever device that you can't knock them on by accident and and run your battery flat. But if you have got the ignition on, and then you turn them on, and then you leave the bike, they will stay on. This must be some fiendishly clever programming. Turn them off, turn them back on again, and they stay off. Oh, well, that's something learnt. I suppose it's a protection feature. Anyway, the front ones are a little more involved. They have a longer cable that disappears off up into the headlight. So let's have an investigate and see how that works. I may have to take this whole clamp from around the fork leg off in order to be able to thread the cable through. In fact, I'm certain I'm going to have to. So we'll go back to the time lapse and we take it from there. Okay, well, as expected, it was necessary to take off the whole clamp. The cable is wrapped fairly neatly round through there, so you're not going to get it out otherwise. Well, you certainly wouldn't get the plug through the hole. It's a different style of plug to the ones, focus, there we go, different style of plug to the ones on the rear. And to access them, it was necessary to drop the headlight out of its little nest, and this here are the two indicator plugs for the harness, again in this little kind of moulded, they get held into place. It's quite neat, quite impressed. I was expecting a massive jumble of wires disappearing into the headlight, but in actual fact it's there, which isn't too bad, and the headlight mounting stays obviously rubber mounted, and they can just be pushed to one side. It's another fairly neat design touch. Quite impressed with that. Right, so let's get these bits swapped over and get it all back together. Right, so there we have them both fitted. Equally straightforward really is the rear in terms of the electrical connections. You've got two colour-coded plugs. You absolutely can't put them in the wrong way round. Well, I mean, I suppose they're the same type of plug. If you were spectacularly determined to do it wrong, you could. But it would be difficult to do. They are different plugs to the rear, so if at some point in the future the idea of I'll buy a pair of fronts and put one on each end occurred to you, that's not going to work. Well, not without doing some butchery. Anyway, that's all together, so I'll get the headlight in. Before I put the headlight in, just show that they are working. There we are. They are nice and bright. Like I say, it's a very bright day today, and they are clearly visible to the naked eye, which is what I like, and not pointy. Quite. So get the headlight back in, and then I'll do a sum up. Just a couple more things to note before I button this in. The screw here holding the indicator to the bracket is a 4mm Allen key, and the one holding the bracket to the fork is a 5mm Allen key. That's 4mm and 5mm if you're in India. The screws here that hold the headlight to the brackets are a TX40, which is a larger one of these two. And then there's this plastic cover that the plugs are nested in pops over here on the back of the headlight, and you have this little expanding fixing that I just pulled out when I took it off, but it's a TX30 if you can actually get your fingers in there to wind it out, but provided things haven't gone all hard with age, that should just pop out the back of the headlight. Here we are, everything's back on. It was a little fiddly getting the rubber cover onto the back of the headlight with that little expanding clip. There are two small prong clips moulded into the cover itself, plus that expanding bung. There's not a great deal of slack on the harness. There's another clip that kind of holds the harness to itself, if that makes sense, which you can pop off to give yourself a little bit more room. It's entirely doable. You might struggle if you've got very big hands, but other than that, it's not anything other than straightforward. Obviously, I will have upset my headlight aim. The next time I go out in the dark, I shall have a play with that. I'll carry that TX40 with me to adjust the headlights. But so this new bullet indicators all fitted and working. I sense there may be a tail tidy in the near future. I'm really not sure why number plates are fitted like that on motorcycles these days. Maybe it's legislation for enough markets to make it a universal fit, but I do prefer to see things tucked up neater up under the tail there. So as soon as I find one that I like the look of, then I'll get one. If anybody's got any suggestions, then feel free to comment. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. Ride safe. Catch you soon.